The following will contain some spoilers for the Owl House. Enjoy! Hello everyone! Welcome back to another Dragon Videos. And once again, I am going to go back and discuss more about some of the stuff in Owl House. But this time around, instead of just some theories, I'm going to talk about the secrets behind the Palismans. The reason why I say that is because, as of late, we begin to notice that there's been a lot of Palismans since episode 6, Hunting Palismans. We've definitely seen that there's a lot of variety, as well as we got a bit of some lore about how the Palismans bond with the witches, as well as what they could mean. So upon that concept, I thought it'd be best to talk about some of the hidden symbolisms which each of the Palisman, and possibly discuss of what kind of Palisman Luz will have in the future of the series. Oh girl, how far you have come! AMD really has come a long way from being the stereotypical smart mean girl who always gave everyone hell, including her own siblings, into a very affectionate, protective, and lovable person, as well as she begins to become more comfortable with having Luz at her side. And as you notice, she has a cat named Ghost, which I was a bit surprised that AMD would have that, but at the same time, it makes sense if you pay attention to some of the character arc, as well as the aspects of Luz's personality. So here's the thing about cats. For many people who don't own cats, they come off as very aloof and uncaring, always focused on their agenda, which half of the time is true, but that's not always the case. I'm pretty sure many cat owners would disagree with that, as well as going far as saying that cats are very affectionate and attentive creatures. They're also very curious because if you notice, they like to tinker with things they shouldn't, or sometimes like to go in boxes, go through spaces, hunting. And that definitely fits AMD's personality. She's very inquisitive, as well as going as far as understanding the world around her, and of course her curiosity was what brought Luz towards her. So not much to say about Gus. In season 1 he definitely had some arc, but he only had at least one episode where he had some decent character development in terms of trying to take some value in his illusion magic, as well as learning of what it really means to become a very good wizard. He also decides that he would become an ambassador and has very good sense of vision. I do see where the chameleon will kind of come into play. Chameleons are known to actually be masters of disguise, which definitely fits Gus's illusion magic. While at the same time, chameleons have an interesting symbolism of the capability of looking into the past as well as looking forward to the future, which again definitely fits Gus because he also looks on the past of things that happened before as well as the history of certain things, while at the same time he also looks towards the future and pays attention to the bigger image that is at hand. Be Bees are very important pollinators that try to help keep the world in a healthy condition. They're what help the reproduction of flowers and also keep many things alive. However, they're not without their own negatives. Bees can be dangerous. If you're someone who's allergic to insect bites and stings, then you'd be in big trouble, as well as there have been known to be a few species of killer bees, mostly found in Africa. And I feel like this would be very appropriate since Willow's Palisman clover is actually a bee. Basically, it also fits with the nurturing nature that Willow has, not only towards plants, but just to people in general. There are some moments where she sort of acts like the mom of the group, trying to be very caring and making sure no one gets too reckless with their decisions. However, when the moment is right, as we saw with like Winged Like Witches or I Was a Teenage Abomination, she can definitely kick butt with her plant magic, and you really wouldn't want to mess with her at that point. Oh yay, I get to talk about her again! Basha is definitely not a fan favorite to a lot of people, and understandably why. She bullied Willow most of the time and looks down on others. But regardless, she was also another student who got herself a Palisman, which is a bit surprising. But what is interesting is the fact that she has a crab as her Palisman. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a crab. One of the few creatures you'd see in the Mia that doesn't involve a monster. Anyway, crabs are kind of symbolized as dishonesty, though in Mandarin China they, I believe, represent something to do with bounty along the way, which definitely seems to reflect the sturdy and somewhat vulnerable nature, as crabs are known to be eaten, to represent Basha's nature of being dishonest, maybe with herself as much as with other people. She's very secret with her life, and as well as we see that her behavior may have something to do with whatever she may be envy of Willow. She may not be just honest with herself at that moment and is just trying to keep herself guarded. We still have yet to get more backstory in that one. Yes, I do realize that he's been talked a lot in my previous videos. However, I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. Hunter's becoming a very interesting character, and his character arc, though a bit different from Amity's, can help become a possible redemption, as I have stressed before. Anyway, it's very surprising that he actually gets a talisman by the end of episode 6. However, our fingers are crossed in hoping that this little guy, little rascal, though we really need to know the name soon enough, so it can actually live to tell the tale. Anyway, originally I thought the cardinal was gonna be with Luz because of multiple times this little bird has been sitting on Luz's shoulder, and it definitely was a bit of a bait for us, and it was a bit of a bummer when it did not happen. So anyway, the cardinal is believed, in terms of dreams, to represent happiness and vitality, which in a lot of ways definitely represents the situation that is something that Hunter is struggling with. And you'd understand why. He has been practically abused by his uncle all his life and never knew what it's like to be loved by others. So this may be a foreshadowing that the more he looks into wild magic with the help of his cardinal buddy, the more he'll be able to find something worth loving for and find something that could get rid of that drained look in his eyes and face. But until then, I guess we're probably gonna be in the air of caution with our Palisman here. Ida definitely was something of an interesting character. In the beginning, she came off as a bit of a con person, wanting nothing more than to take on money whenever possible, even if it means she had to get a little dirty, and basically seemed like a wily, too rebellious for her own good sort of deal, and had been a bit apathetic towards Luz. Felt like she didn't care of anything at all, but in reality, she is a very caring and loving person. She willing to sacrifice her position as in the Emperor's Coven for the sake of her relationship with her sister, as well as she had a wonderful and beautiful relationship with Rain that inspired them to produce a rebellion and had earned a lot of respect from the people towards the tail end of season 1, and that says a lot about her character. And of course, with owls, they always are known as the symbols of wisdom, which I feel like is something that Ida does show from time to time, despite the fact that she has a tendency to goof off or focus more on money efforts. Owls can help provide and guide, which we have seen in many fairy tales in the past, with owls always helping out other people and telling them what to do. And again, this definitely fits Ida to a T. She tries to guide Luz to becoming the best witch that she can be, as well as making sure that King is well taken care of. And a few times she even became a bit of a mentor to Amity as well. Not an actual mentor as a replacement for Lilith, but just sometimes be the voice of reason that Amity needs at some point. So, Luz is probably a well-debated portion of this topic, because she's yet to have her Palisman, and of course, she's still trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. But so far, many people have been speculating that she could get a snake because there's been many hints of snakes throughout the majority of the show, and plus, she has a tendency of being very close to the reptilian kind. Luz is very creative and spontaneous, though it landed her in trouble in the beginning before. It definitely was something interesting to look into, as well as the fact that despite her own faults, Luz is a very interesting character. She's very brave and kind, as well as she's very perceptive, looking at a situation in a different angle and try to come up with brainstorming ideas of how to handle it properly, sometimes even when the situation calls for it. She even has a proper understanding of people and is empathetic. She tries to hear people out, as well as try to help them overcome some of their problems and call them out on it if need be. So let's look at the possible Palismans for her. So there's the snake. For some people, they symbolize forbidden knowledge, but in some cultures they could also represent wisdom as well as cunning, because there's always that saying, "You cunning snake." And it may fit Luz to a T because she can be a little sneaky at times, as well as she's a very smart character, despite the fact that she has ADHD, thanks to the confirmation from Dana Terrace. Then of course there's the bat. I had to do some research on that one, but surprisingly, it can represent death and rebirth, which seems a bit appropriate because Luz definitely helps bring out new changes in a lot of people, not just only to herself, but to her friends as well as to Ida, and possibly to all of Burnsboro without her even realizing it. So maybe a bat can be appropriate for her. And of course, there's the blue jay, that are considered tricksters and very bright and colorful birds, which definitely would be, again, something appropriate for Luz, because we've always had a lot of bird themes in the Owl House and can be a bit of the opposite to Hunter in more ways than one. Then finally, what I think would be very cool for her to have as a Palisman is a firebird. Luz is very known to have very insightful perceptions, but that's for the bats. But in this case with the phoenix, it can also represent rebirth and renewal of the same concepts, while with fire it could also be considered an element close to light, which again definitely fits Luz pretty well in terms of that point. So I do hope that we get to see some of that soon, because again, Luz is a very interesting character who is going over some of her struggles as well as trying to find an identity for herself. We still have yet to get any more info about the Palisman aside from the fact that the Palmstrom wood is blue, and we have yet to figure out of what she's going to decide for herself. So, and these are just my speculations alone, but I do hope that there'll be new development soon enough. So these are just my thoughts, and I would like to hear yours. What do you think of the Palismans? Do you think that it seems ideal and appropriate? And what sort of Palisman do you think Luz will have? Remember, do a comment, subscribe. This is Dragon Videos, signing off.